Thoughts and Prompts.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of Thoughts and Prompts. We are going to continue to work on our agent orchestration framework. To recap, we want it to be independent of which AI coding assistant you are using, whether that's Claude, Codex, or whatever. We want it to work with any ticketing system that you use, whether it's GitHub Issues or Jira or whatever you use. And finally, we also want to work it to work with any kind of workflow. So you can configure your own workflow, which means your own kind of agents. One may be writing code, one may be reviewing code, and so on. And this framework adapts to whatever workflow you want to work with. So overall, this is a framework that should go out of your way. So we are not forcing you into any kind of specific workflows or using this tool extensively. So we want you to stay in your tools, using your workflows that you're already using pre-AI. All right. Last time we ended with a system where we already had the tool for the agent to actually fetch issues from GitHub projects. In that case, we have a test project here. And this is also our workflow that we want to support. Tickets should go from the left to the right to be finally done, and every bucket will be worked on by one agent. And we worked on a CLI tool that the agent can use to actually get those issues, because since we want to be independent from the ticketing system, we actually wanted to add an abstraction. All right, so as before, we actually built this thing with AI as well. It's not like we are actually writing code ourselves. So we had one specific problem at the end of the last episode, and that was we hit GraphQL API limits on GitHub. And I already asked the agent to analyze this and figure out if there are ways how we can optimize this. And also I saw that GitHub actually returns a bunch of headers that let us know how we are doing on the API limits or the rate limits. And I asked the agent, maybe could add a verbose flag and actually get some of this data back. We are using GitHub through the GH tool, so I'm not sure if we will actually see those headers, but let's see. The agent made some proposals or recommendations. One was caching the project metadata so that we do not need to fetch some of the data all the time. Cache the item list. Here I'm not 100% sure that this is dangerous, because we will update the item list from different agents, so caching can get in the way here. Number 3 is use GraphQL directly for targeted queries. So instead of GH project item list, we would use GraphQL. I don't think this is a great idea, because we hit GraphQL rate limit, so we should use it less if possible. And then lazy loading and exposing the rate limit, and that was the extra task I gave the agent. So the agent suggested we should start with 1, 2, and 5. So to recap, cache the project metadata, cache the item list, and 5, expose rate limit info. Okay, and then once you approve, the agent says, I'll add a simple caching layer to the adapter, implement a global verbose flag, add logging for GH commands, and rate limiting headers. So let's ask my follow-up questions. So first, let's not use numbers, because the agent mentioned numbers, otherwise the agent might think we reference specific things here. So let's ask the agent, how are you planning to implement the cache? Since this is a CLI tool, it's only running for a short time. So how will the cache survive that? There's no reason to have an in-memory cache if the program always quits and then gets restarted, right? Then let's ask maybe the agent if he can actually get the headers. For the rate limit headers, can we even get them through the GH tool? Is this only possible if we use the API directly? Let's see what the agent says. Well, the agent is thinking about this. Let me talk a little bit about what the goal is. We, in the last episode, were able to point an agent to our tool. The agent fetched an item from the list, worked on it, and then essentially at the end was able to commit it and push it. I want to introduce a tool where we can do this in one tool call. Later we want an orchestration that runs all the agents in parallel and so on, but for now I want one that just runs one agent and does this loop of getting one ticket, working on it, completing it only once. Okay, let's see. GH API rate limit. Yeah, let the agent try that. If we, for some reason, don't get past this API rate limit issue in the long run, we might need to switch from GitHub projects to something else, but that would be sad, so let's see. Interestingly, it tries to look up projects from Anthropics. But this one here, let me scroll up, actually looks good. We actually see the limit and the remaining points. So we already used 9 points from the GraphQL rate limit bucketing kind of. All right, let's see. It doesn't expose headers, only GH API with include shows them. I guess this is good enough. Revised optimization proposal, lazy loading. Don't call get project ID and so on. Add verbose flag to show. Optimize specific hot parts if needed later. 1 and 2. So lazy loading makes sense. And then the verbose flag. Alright. Let's work on 1 and 2. Interestingly, the agent is no longer suggesting to cache things. So let me look that up for a minute. Why that's the case. You're absolutely right about the cache, since each CLI invocation is a separate process. In memory cache only helps looking at the code mode are short-lived and don't repeat calls within themselves. Yeah. File-based cache would help, adds complexity, not worth it. Yeah, I guess so too. GH project commands don't expose headers. So let the agent work on 1 and 2. I wonder if we can do more with GH project and not use the GraphQL API at all. Maybe let's take a look ourselves quickly. GH Pro, was it project or projects project? Help. So we can close, copy, create, delete, edit a project, fields, items, adding, create, item list. Yeah, maybe we quickly ask the agent what we use GraphQL for currently and whether a GH project command could replace it. Well, let's see. Yes, edit all files. If you take a look at the config while the agent is working, the config for our tool. So right now we can define a ticket system, and we are going to use this theme of trains. So every agent is a train, and every column in the project is a station. So a train is working on moving stuff between those stations. So once we are done with the rate limiting work, we would continue with defining a train here, and then we would probably end up creating a Choo train run command that would run this train once maybe, and then we can continue from there, and maybe at that point start to maybe file some tickets and work through that instead of instructing the agent manually here. That will also require us to write some prompts, because the different trains or agents will need different prompts to complete their work, because it's different work if you are in the development bucket or if you are working on the review bucket, for example. All right. Then let's test this for a second. We have something in development and in review. Maybe let's move this here. Let's move this over here. Make this a bit. All right. So let's get out of here. Probably need to start a Tmax session so that we can see all at once later. Choo work list developing maybe, and then we use verbose. And let's see. Choo verbose. Oops. Choo verbose work list developing. Oh, and of course this command does not exist yet. We haven't installed it. So let's run it through UB. Okay, what's new now is we can see what commands are actually getting executed. So gh project item list 3 owner, and then we see it getting executed a second time, and that uses up some of our rate limiting. So I guess my first question for the agent would be, why are we running this twice? Why are we running the gh command twice here? Maybe this already helps us to reduce our API usage. Let me remember what the other thing was I wanted to do. There was something. Oh yeah, asking whether we can use the gh project command more often instead of GraphQL, but here we actually use gh project, and it still uses the GraphQL rate limit apparently. List station fetches all items to validate the station exists, fetches all items again to filter by station. Yeah, that sucks. This is exactly where in-memory caching within a single command would help, since both calls happen within the same adapter instance during one command, and we should add simple instance level caching for the list. That's a good question. So usually either we can build a simple cache, right? The other option is, if we fetch it already, why can't we just reuse that without something more stupid like a cache? So let's say the first one, list stations, actually gives us a data structure with all the stations and the issues in it. Want me to Reese's? Yes, but but let us think this through for a moment. I think I need to actually need voice input here at some point, because talking and typing is pretty slow, and maybe this would be better if I could just talk here. So, but let us think this through for a moment. If we fetch everything already, couldn't we pass this into a data structure and use that throughout? Or do we really want a more stupid cache that will return the data again? Yeah, let's take some time to actually go through that for a moment. I actually want to get to the command pretty quickly. Let's find an issue for that, then we can remember it. Create a new issue. Actually, in the same repository, it's confusing that it doesn't do this. Add a title. Add Choo train configuration. Add train configuration. And should we use and, or should we just make two commands? Two issues, sorry. Let me take a look at the README again. I think we had already a sketch of how that would look like. We want something like this. Wait a second. Here. I'm actually wondering, do we actually want the stations that way? Because do we need explicit stations? Maybe it's helpful. Keeping the stations makes sense, but the trains have a name. Makes sense. Let's say a coda from station. Actually, it's not specified as here. Let's figure this out on the fly. We want to configure stations and trains. Stations map to, for example, columns in GitHub projects. Trains need to use a specific CLI. We need our train configurations need name, how it moves tickets, passengers, forward, backward, or let's say from, to, and maybe even back to another one, which CLI, Claude, Codex, and so on. The prompt file here, I'm not sure. Do we specify this here, or will this? I think the name, with the name we can figure that out. How many instances we want to run, and some kind of, not a timeout necessarily, but between the loops we want to maybe take a sleep. And how long between loops we want to sleep. Alright, again, let's see. Multiple methods need access to the project IDs. They all call this and get the same. So we should create a single method that fetches and caches the past items list, have all other methods use it instead of calling run.gh directly. This makes the act cleaner. Yes, I like this. Yes, go ahead. Awesome. After that, I think we'll test this quickly, and then we go and build the actual feature we want to build. So, implement Choo train run. Need a command like Choo train run, which will run a specific train once. This means it will pass the prompt for this train to the agent CLI and run it once. I'm wondering if we need a parameter to say do it once or do it in a loop. I think do it once might be good enough. The thing I'm essentially wondering is we later will have the orchestration framework around this. Will this take care of the loop for every agent, or will the train command or the trains themselves do the looping? Doesn't matter. Right now we only want to run it once. We can change this at any time, right? So okay, cool. Let's test this, I guess. Yeah, we run it only once. Cool. I guess we commit and push this. Let's see, if I move this to the top, will this be represented here as well? Yes, awesome. Because we later want this to be our priority list. So I can use my tool, in this case GitHub projects, to move things up if I want them to be done sooner. Alright, now let's start a Tmax session so that we can easily have multiple screens here. Or multiple panes on the same screen. Alright, I guess we start with the configuration. Usually I could now ask the agent to use the Choo work command and pick something to work on and complete it. But I think we need to talk this through a bit. So I will ask the agent to only read the command and the readme. And then let's see, look at the readme to understand the project and what we are building. Then use the Choo work command to read issue 3. We want to work on this, but I want to discuss this with you first once you know the implementation. Of course, now we actually use a bunch of prompts. Later, the agent will just work autonomously on one ticket. That will be very helpful for us. The agent cannot use Choo yet, so we need to help it a little bit here. Later we will actually install the tool with pipx. Alright. But we are at least a little bit dogfooding it because the agent now uses our tool to actually find and read this issue. And what I want to ask the agent in a minute, if it doesn't do it on its own now, is to make a proposal for a minimal configuration we can use. But let it read the code for a moment. And then once it's done and we have the run command as well, we will let it work through that autonomously through issue number 2 to add the license. Very simple one, but if it cannot do it on its own, then we will probably file more issues on GitHub instead of typing into Claude directly. Okay, it did write a lot of stuff. Let's see. Simple station list. Okay, I'm actually caring less about the code and more about the configuration here. Okay, first, propose a minimal configuration so that we later can focus on running a train once. We can expand the configuration later. A train needs to pick up work from one station and move it to another once complete. There are edge cases. For example, if you are a reviewing agent, then an item may not move to the next station if it fails review, but goes back to the previous one. We can either model this as going back of some thoughts, or as a way of saying the item can be moved to two different stations, right? You could say if a train that picks up, let's say, passengers from the review station, it could go to the merge station, or it could go to the developing station again. So either this, or it is we go forward or we go backwards. I'm currently thinking forwards and backwards is probably simpler than having multiple stations, which kind of creates potentially a complex graph, which would be fine, but maybe not something we need. So let's just leave it at this. Let the model propose something. Then should I add, okay, we mentioned that, CLI, should we validate the CLI executable exists on the system, or just validate it's specified? Currently we do not need to validate the CLI. We can do that when running. And right now we do not even need to. I'm wondering, do we even need to pass it? Because if we don't run anything, but let's leave that out. I'm okay if the agent wants to implement a parser for that. The issue meant how long between loops we want to sleep. Should this be a train level sleep interval between picking up new work, or is timeout sufficient? For the timeout, I'm not sure if it's clear what that means. We can, in theory, use timeout if that is the time between loops, and not a timeout meaning we stop the train after that time. Let's see. Let me quickly check what we wrote here. For every train, there will be a prompt file in .choo. Something like Choo prompts train name MD. All right, back to this. Minimal configuration stations, trains from station to station. Optionals, we can prompt file instances, sleep interval, handling the review edge case. For the review scenario, I suggest we leverage what's already built. The Choo work complete and command already supports an optional station argument. Reviews like this, config set from station review to station done. Yeah, we can do this. We just need to be very specific in the prompt for the agent. We need to be very specific then. If you pass a review, do this. If it fails, do this. But I think we still need to validate that it goes that we actually follow what is in the configuration. If we complete, we move it to done, because that is the to station, and if it fails, we go to testing, then this is nowhere in the configuration. I would love to verify that this move is actually possible. Maybe we actually introduce a new command. It's not work complete, it is something work fail. And if work fails, it goes to something else. But I'm okay with the agent saying we just ignore this for now. Let's implement this. And while this is running, let's actually take a look at the Claude command. I'm not sure how we actually need to invoke it. I mean, how we invoke it from the train command, because we want to inject a prompt and we want it to be able to do everything. We might want to skip permissions. Let's see, not sure yet. Or allow specific tools, but maybe we will just skip permissions for now. But more importantly, how do we inject the prompt? We have a prompt parameter, so we can just write the prompt, but I would love to pass in a file. Is this possible? Oh, the agent is doing something. Don't see anything. File resources to download at startup, but I want a prompt file. Should be possible somehow, right? Well, the agent will figure it out for us, I guess. Oh, and then let's also ask the agent to create some of the configuration for our repo. Let's see, let's get this back. Here's our browser. Maybe we first only create the developing and review columns. So we want an agent to pick something up here and move it here. All right. Commit and push. Let's also ask the agent to actually use our tool to complete this item. And for now, I think we will continue using this context session. because we now want to implement a tool that runs this train, and this agent already has a bunch of context around that. I don't think we need to start from scratch this time. Nice, and it's moving this to reviewing. Cool. Update the Choo config in this repository to include the developing and reviewing stations, and add a coda train that moves passengers between them using Claude. And again, let's look at that once it's done. Oh, did it actually already add one? I didn't realize that. Let's check. It says it's updated it, or did it already commit that? Oh yeah, no. Confusing. But it's here. Oh, wait a second. Did we end up adding this to git ignore? Yes, our Choo config is ignored. We should commit it at some point, but I guess for now it's fine. Let's get rid of this. And this time actually the item moved over in the UI. I remember last episode we had the problem, we updated things here and it didn't reflect in the web UI. Cool. Now we are going to work on item 4. Read it. And then let's discuss what should happen. Let's take a look ourselves quickly. So the prompt will tell the agent to use the Choo command. We also need a global prompt file that we concat to this one, because things like which Choo commands to use is probably something we want to have globally defined for every agent and not write it into every prompt. So let's see. Questions in the command interface. Choo train run train name. Yes. Okay, let's go through this step by step. Should this be the syntax? Syntax is great. Either the train name is specified or we use Choo train name. Prompt file location. We default to a prompt file named using the train name. It should be required. We also have a global Choo prompt in Choo that we will append the agent prompt to, so that we can have a prompt for all and the agent specific one. Number 3, how to invoke the CLI. How to invoke the CLI will be defined by the selection. We will have adapters for known CLIs like Claude. Right now we only implement the Claude one. In this adapter we specify which parameters are getting added, figure out which ones we need for Claude. For environment, should we set these environment variables up when spawning the agent? Yes, we should set those, except maybe the config path. Working directly, should the agent run in the project root? Yes. Yes, it should run in the project root. Agent workflow, when the train runs, the agent should use Choo work list to see if we can issue Choos. 6. The workflow is defined by the 2 combined prompt that we pass in and not hard-coded in Choo itself. 7. Exit behavior after the agent completes one issue, and the command should exit and remove. 7. Yes, for now just exit after the agent is done. All right. Implementation plan. Choo train run, yes. Global. Yes, I just would like this global prompt to be one level higher. 2. Let's move the global prompt one level higher outside of the prompts folder for agents, I think, right? Or wait, let's name it differently. Or let's just, it's fine. Let's ignore those. I was wondering if there's an agent called global, then this is a conflict, blah blah blah, but I don't think that is a problem we should care about right now. CLI adapters. 3. Yes, but name this differently. Future agents might not necessarily be CLIs. So it's more like an agent adapter. Environment variables, yep. Working directory, yep. Use Claude help to see what's available. And prompt file location. And here it's actually asking exactly this question. And I like Choo system ND. All right. Oh, Claude support system from me. I didn't see this earlier, but that's fine. Let's move this away for a second. Let's create another pane where we'll test the command. So the idea is now, let's look at the config again, that we will have a command that will be Choo train run, and it will be the coda train. And then we expect it to pick up the issue with the license. Like this one, because this one will be gone. We just need to actually add the prompts. Let's actually see if it created anything already. Oh yeah, there's already a coda prompt and a system prompt. Let's take a look. Oh my god! This is way too much. We need to tweak the prompts. The system prompt needs, oh wait, they are all way too verbose. Let's focus on this. The system prompt says how to find an issue and work with it using Choo work. Actually, I'm reading this in parallel here, and maybe we can just tweak this a bit. You're an agent working on a part of the Choo this part doesn't matter. Maybe we can even skip this. Your role is to autonomously handle work items from a project board. Have access to the following Choo commands to interact. And then it's duplicating them here. No, actually, let's not and that the agent should work on only one item at a time. It needs to be really brief. The agent can also figure out some things with help and doesn't need to know every little detail. In my experience with the rel loops, we actually need to tweak that prompt a bit to get it exactly right. So it's definitely a good idea to start with a very small prompt and then start adding more things as they are actually needed. Awesome, yeah, this is better, I guess. Let's double check, did it? And then let's look at the coda prompt. You implement features and alright. For the coda prompt, mention that agent should be writing production code. Tests always need to pass, no shortcuts. Follow the documented rules and should be specified rules. Again, we only need a very simple one to start with. I should not overthink this right now. You write production code to implement features and fix bugs, follow existing patterns, write tests, and ensure all tests with no shortcuts. Great. Let's commit. Yes, commit. Only commit. We don't need to push yet. Let me go to this board. I will move this one manually now because I want to see whether the agent will pick that up. There's one thing we still need to do though. We need to make sure that the Choo command is actually available for the agent. So we will do this in a second here. And we'll probably just write an alias. This way. Awesome. That should help. I guess we just see what happens. Choo, train, run, coda. This did not work. It when using Choo run, Choo train run, it ran Claude code in an interactive mode instead, and it doesn't seem like it got the prompt. Need it to run autonomously without the user having to interact with it. Let's see. Completed successfully. Well, can also take a look ourselves again. Actually, if I run this with verbose, does it? This is something we need to add to. With verbose enabled, it should output the Claude command it will run. This will help us debugging in the same way it helped us with the API rate limiting. Great, the Claude adapter now passes start working on the next available issue. Okay, let me actually check that. There isn't. Do we use system prompt or append system prompt? And it expects a string, not a file, not files, right? What do we do under the hood? I could look at the code, but the goal of this show is to not do that. Yeah, we combine them, we pass them, which wrong window. Yes, let's try append first. I don't think I want to replace the whole system prompt. I don't know what is in the system prompt, but let's assume there's helpful stuff in it. And then let's run it again, I guess. This time with verbose. Here's our system prompt and the combined prompt. Oh, and we needed to have all permissions. We also need to run Claude in a way that it will not ask for permissions. Yeah, this wouldn't be helpful if you have an agent orchestration system where every agent constantly bugs us and asks for permissions. This is where it gets a little bit dangerous, but with this prompt I do not expect anything awful to happen. Permission mode don't ask. Okay, let's see. I'm curious again before we do this. Permission mode. Accept edits, bypass default, delegate, don't ask, plan. What does don't ask actually mean? I want it to have the permissions, right? I think we want this one. Oh yeah, not allow. You, wrong window. You are right. We want all permissions skipped, not only allow it. Okay, now it gets interesting. Oh. Why do I still need to confirm it? That makes no sense. Okay, we need both. Okay, now it gets dangerous. Ah! It's appending the system prompt. But now it... Where does it say that? Oh, here. Allow, and then it's... I guess this is something we still need to figure out. Right now I will just accept and then exit because I'm curious if I need to explicitly do this every time. No, I don't. Okay, this was only a one-time thing. So that's interesting. So we need a system prompt, but we also need a first prompt to get Claude to do anything. It is reading the details of this issue. I don't know which one. Oh, the license one. Awesome. This reminds me, we need to update the prompt to also commit the coder prompt to also say that the agent should commit all changes after making sure it is done, works, passes tests and code quality tools. Okay, it's updating it. Added the license, it's updating the README, it's adding it to the Pi project, what all things we did not explicitly mention in the issue. That's great. And it actually did commit it, which is nice. And here it says, let me check if there are more issues available. This is exactly what this agent should know. Be very explicit that the agent should work on only one issue and then exit. other agents will continue to work on the remaining issues. Only one issue, regardless of the issue type. Update the prompts to be very clear. I needed to type exit here. This is something we need to get rid of too. Is there an option in Claude to make sure the agent CLI exits once done? It ran successfully, but then waited for more input from the user. Should have just exited. So let's take a look. There is the MIT license, it's committed. And we have all the other local changes still from improving stuff. Print response and exit. Oh yeah, that's exactly what we wanted. Awesome. Commit all the improvements, but yes. And let's take a look at the prompt again. Work only on one issue, then exit. Do not pick up the issue. Other issue will handle the remaining. One issue only, regardless of type or size. Yes, that's good. Did anything about the coder prompt change? It explicitly mentions this too. This is fine for now. Awesome. And I will push this from here. Oh, it does already push it here. All right, I will not push it. Thank you, agent. Awesome. I think with that we are done for today. We managed to get to a state where we now can run a train, an agent. And with that we can start to actually file issues on GitHub and let an agent work through that. And then I guess in the next episode we will try to add some more trains or agents that work on the other buckets so that we can actually get an issue that goes through our flow we defined on GitHub. And once we have this working, we will add the orchestration layer on top, where the orchestration will take care of launching all those agents and make sure that we just add issues at the beginning and they will walk through our pipeline. All right, with that we are done for today. Thank you for watching and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.